Hi, this is Gina Kubik from San Antonio, Texas, and I'm going to teach you how to get started designing patterns with Creative Studio 6. It is a lot of fun, and I think you're going to learn a lot. I'm going to touch on some of the attributes of Creative Studio: mirror, circular array, point-to-point, and the draw features. First, I want to talk about point-to-point line and circle array. That is such a powerful feature of Creative Studio. So I put a drawing here with making boundaries of a quilt that one of my customers brought me with a cross on it, and it was beautiful. The next thing that I did was I clicked Create Boundary when I was on my quilting machine, and I made some lines across the middle of this cross just so that I could see where the exact center was in order to begin my radiating lines. And this is very easy. You're going to love how this is. And then all you do is you go to the draw feature. You can go to draw a sewable point-to-point line, or you can pick Alt-L, and you want to start in the middle and go out. And the way that I did it was I started right in the middle and I went to the furthest point on my quilt, and then I went back to the middle because you want it to be able to sew out and sew back without stopping. And so there I have my pattern that I'm going to use. And then I left clicked on my pattern to select it, and then I can right click on it and pick circular array, and I wanted 36 copies of this line and so I picked 36 and put them at 10 degrees, and then I clicked on Place Array Center Point. And when I did that, I blew up my center and picked the point right in the center. And lo and behold, there are all my beautiful radiating lines. Then what you want to do is trim out the parts of the lines that you don't want. And you can use this doing your trim feature, or you can change your boundary into a trim. So as you trim this out, you can go around, or you can simply change that boundary into a trim. But I wanted to show both ways. And now you have a beautiful trim pattern that's going to sew out and come back and then go to the next line and never stop. This pattern only took less than 10 minutes to sew out, and it was gorgeous. I love circular array, so I'm going to show you something else that you can do to really help your quilting with circular array. One thing I do want to mention though, you can go to the View tab and change your grid size if you want them smaller or larger. Then when you're drawing, you go to the Draw tab and draw down on this instance to draw a sewable point-to-point line. I'm going to draw a little lightning bolt. Then you start clicking, and you can't make any mistakes. Just have fun and click away and see what you come up with. You can erase it if you don't like it, or you may find that you come up with something really neat. So now got to the end, I'm going to go back on my lightning bolt. So I want to start at the middle and then return to the middle, because then when I do a circular array, I can have no stopping when I'm sewing. So I'm going to see how this is going to look. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on my pattern, and I'm going to circular array 10 times and see how it looks. So I'll click on place array point, and then right where I click on the point that I want it to start at. Now I can see that would really look neat on a modern quilt. So let's try that. If you have a design that you want to try, say on a Dresden quilt, you could bring that lightning bolt in. And I have saved my lightning bolt to CSQ, and so now I have it on my screen, and so I can bring it on my quilt screen by using repeat patterns, and then I can change the size of it as I wish, put it on my screen, change the size a little bit more, and see where I want to put it. There we go. Now all you will have to do is to click circular array again, and this time I'm going to repeat this pattern, and I'm going to repeat it 12 times. At 30 degrees. And I'm going to place my circular array point, and it hits on those patterns perfectly. Are your eyes starting to open up now? I think you really can get some use out of this. And if you want to rearrange them and you want to change, don't forget you can always go to nodes. Maybe you would want to make this pattern reach all the way to the center with your nodes and then circular array it again. I think that would be a great idea. Triangles. Let's use Creative Studio to make some easy and fun triangle patterns. The first thing I did was I drew a boundary of a triangle on my screen, and I put another triangle back to back. So I have two 90-degree triangles here. And if you'll notice, I kept them on the grid so that I knew my triangles were level. This will come in very handy if you decide to use your triangles later for a point-to-point pattern. So let's get started. We go to Draw, and we draw a Sobel arc, and then you get a crosshair. Arcs, all you have to remember is that they're easy as 1, 2, 3. You click 3 times and you have an arc. 1, 2, and 3. And we have an arc. So let's keep going. Let's keep clicking and make some more arcs and just experiment and see what we can come up with. And if you just say to yourself 1, 2, 3, you will come up with some very, very neat patterns. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And if you notice, I do have the end snap on right now, and that will help you get all the ends snapped together so you don't have to do that afterward. 1, 2, and 3. Let's see, I'll put this one over here. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And another one. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then right click and you're done. Now, you may like your pattern, you may not, you may want to change some things in it, but for now, let's just leave it as is. We know that it's all snapped together because it has a start and an end. So let's go ahead and combine this all. Click on all your patterns so that you combine them together. Now that you've combined your patterns together, if you want to, you can make minor changes with them or major changes. You can go down to your nodes. Maybe you would like this curve to be a little bigger. We'll pull on these green or aqua dots and you can change your curves. This is really handy when you're making patterns. You can move things around just as you want them. You can change the way the curves are. I'm just moving things around to see what I can do with this pattern that maybe I would like even better. And changing my curves. And if you remember, the green squares are like the marionette strings on a puppet. You can pull them just like making a puppet go. So you can move them, and the pink squares are either dividers or you can move the points around. I think I want to make this a little bigger, so I'm going to bring out my pink triangle here, and I'm going to make that a little bigger there, and this curve a little bigger here, and then even it up there. So just by playing around, you can make some changes in your pattern that maybe you like or maybe you don't. You can make minor changes or major changes using your nodes. So I'm just moving things around and having fun. And now that I've done that, I'm going to take a look at it. If I like it, I keep it. If I don't, I can get rid of it. But another thing that you can do to enhance it, oh, I missed one little spot I want to fix right here. This was a little crooked right there. I want to bring that over. Okay. Now that I have that, I want to save this to export it to CSQ for future use. And I'll save that, give it a name, and save that, and I can use it anytime. Now I may want to try something else to see if I want a different kind of triangle, and that is where this boundary comes into play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click on my pattern and then right click to bring up the drop down menu and click on the mirror function. Now it wants to know where I would like my mirror when it asks you first point on the CAD. My pattern is over here. I would like it over here. So I want my mirror to be this vertical line, and it does not matter at all where you put your points on here at all. It could be the top or the bottom, but you want to make sure of a couple of things. One of them is that end snap is off. Otherwise, it will not work properly. Just a little point of warning there. So I'm going to click on my first point and my second point, and voila, it mirror imaged on the other side. Now I want to make sure that it's not going to sew from left to right and then jump and sew from right to left. So what I'm going to do is click on my first pattern and then click on order join. There we go. Now before I can do that, it didn't change anything. So what that tells you is that this point right up in here is not clicked together. So what I would like to do now is turn on my end snap again there, and I will snap them together. There we go. Now so if you didn't end snap them together and you click on order join, they will not join and the order will not change. So now I'm going to click on order join. As you see, it says start and end right there. We'll click on order join. Now the start and end is just where I want it, at the beginning and the end. So that is one of the things you have to make sure, is that your two patterns are snapped together. So now I want to change one other thing. I want to look very, very closely where my pattern starts, and it starts on the lower horizontal line, which is good. And I want to make sure that it ends on the lower horizontal line. And it does. So that is wonderful. Just in case I decide to use this as a point-to-point pattern, it should be a valid point-to-point pattern. Now, before I save it to CSQ, what I need to do is click on both patterns and combine them. To make sure that there's no breaks in the pattern, you can always do a virtual stitch out and make sure that this pattern is going to stitch out in the way that you want it. And that's a very good check before you save it to CSQ, that it's going to stitch in an orderly manner and stitch well. So it is doing very well. So we're going to just let it get to the end, and then we'll save it to CSQ, and we'll have another pattern. Not only do we have now a triangle pattern, but we will have a point-to-point pattern, because the definition of point-to-point is that it starts on the left and ends on the right. We got that. And it starts and ends on the same plane. So we got it starting and ending on the same line. So let's go ahead and export this pattern to CSQ and give it a name. And it will appear in our screen. So now, let me show you a few things you can do with your patterns. Okay, first we're going to use the first triangle that we made, the first half, and I'm going to bring it onto the screen by choosing repeat patterns and just bringing it onto the screen there. Just for fun, let's see what we can do. We can go ahead and click on it. We can circular array it. That's kind of fun. We might want to make a few changes, but that's another idea. We could pick so many times, but it does give a nice sense of motion. So let's try some other things with this pattern. Let's see if we can use this pattern in other ways. The next thing that I'm going to do is pick my second pattern, which I also turned into a point-to-point pattern, and I am going to bring it on the screen using repeat patterns to see how it looks. Now, let's circular array this pattern and see if we like it. We may like it, we may not. We'll just find out. That one I like better. That might look really nice on a windmill pattern. So let's try something else. Let's select that pattern and see if indeed that we made a point-to-point pattern. So let's click on some points. I clicked on the little target for point-to-point, and make sure that you have it on point-to-point pattern, not point-to-point line. And let's just start clicking and see what we get. I'm just going to click every 2 squares. Whoop, I forgot to take off the end snap. Okay, now let's keep on going. Now that I have end snap off. There we go. Very nice. Right click when we want to get out. And as you can see, we have created our own unique point-to-point pattern and a triangle pattern just by using the tools with the arcs in Creative Studio. Now let's do the same procedure in Creative Studio to make a border. we'll go to draw and draw a Sobel arc. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I want to change it up a little bit here now. Make it taller. 2, 3, 1, 2. There we go. And 3. Well, let's see how we did. Let's go ahead and combine your border into one pattern. Don't forget to do that. Save it to CSQ, and you can give it a name. Now let's give it a try with point to point. Let's click on some points and see if we like our border. Well, that could be a fun border. So, there you've made your own border. Using arcs and lines and your imagination, you can make anything. And all you have to do is play. Just play, and believe me, some wonderful results will come out, and you can make some very cute and useful patterns in Creative Studio. That was so much fun, I want to make another border. Let's try again. We're going to draw sewable arcs. So let's start in our middle, and let's start making our arcs. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. That's kind of fun. Let's do it again. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Do you see how I'm using my lines as reference points? That is kind of neat. I'm actually going to save that one. Let's combine that, and let's save that into CSQ. Now, let's go to our point to point and see how it looks. Hey, that's a lot of fun. See what you can do just playing around in Creative Studio? I think I'll use that border more and more. So let's tell you an example as well of using some of the other triangles that we have created in the first groups. Now let's use one of the triangles that we created in one of the first clips. Let's use a point-to-point pattern. So I'm going to put it on point-to-point, and I picked my triangle 99, and I am going to just start clicking points. I'm going to go over and across and over and across, over and across. Now I'm simply going to go exactly backwards and fill in all these areas. And remember, we randomly designed that today, and that can be beautiful. You can do this too. Follow me along in the video and watch it again, and you can do all kinds of things with these patterns. If you want it more dense, you can simply click on every square. To get a more dense effect. And that's neat too. Not only that, you can combine that and save it to CSQ as a new block. Once you get started, it will compound on itself and you will get more and more creative and have more and more blocks. Enjoy doing Creative Studio, and I sure hope that you learned a lot and this will help. Thank you.